Hello everyone, and welcome to the FEE3 2024 presentation of The Morrow's Golden Country by Retina. This is the hack formerly known as Two Milkmen Go Comedy, and I am the LTCer currently known as lowres. For today's special presentation, I will be attempting to LTC Chapter 15, which is beating it in the fewest amount of turns possible. But before we get to that, let's get you caught up on the story so far. So, you must be the young prince. It is good to see you well. Forgive my rudeness. I am Elcorian, a peer of Blair's. It's nice to meet you. Did you need Lady Blair? I was just speaking with her. After all, my father had come to her aid, only feels right to get to know her. It'll be nice having an ally in Albacore. Of course. On the subject of allies, I believe that once we're all returned to Dulst, the High Council may convene. I trust that you can guess for what purpose. Is that true? That's fantastic. After all, Ercolin's actions brought the war to a speedy end, even if Albacore and Opistinia's hands weighed the scales. Of course, these Opistus-forsaken post-war roundtables must come to an end. Hey, it's not my fault Yggdra's all Dulst's problem now, though I appreciate my not having to deal with it. If we're pitting this on anybody, it's Tarkin. I mean, Lord Neilstrom. And yet I'm the one drowning in paperwork. Alas, at least soon enough, this war will be behind... Your Highness! What's the matter? A mysterious figure has appeared outside of the castle grounds. They appear to be warping a legion of soldiers beyond the gate. What do you mean? Warping soldiers? That can't be good at all. Come quickly, please! The end of the Yggdrasian War. A new age of Olmeron begins. As Albacore, Opistinia, and Dulst convene to decide Yggdra's fate, unsettling news arrives. An unknown force is advancing upon the Albacorian palace. Faced with this, Blair's army prepares to mount a defensive, and Zeke, amidst the turmoil of his arrival, decides to join with Blair to protect his newfound home. How are there so many of them? For someone to warp such a large force. Isn't Lord Neilstrom not too far? Would he have troops with him? Good thinking, Blair. I shall retrieve him as swiftly as I'm able. Until then, you're just going to have to hold on. Apologies. It is all right. Zeke, run off and hide, please. You must survive this. I'm sorry, Father. I can't do that. I must stand and fight. This is my kingdom now. What would I be if I cowered? You truly are your father's son. Very well. Lady Blair, please keep my son safe. Of course, Your Majesty. So you're coming too, then? This isn't your fight. That's hardly true. Who knows why these soldiers are here? I can't leave loose ends like this in good conscience. And besides, I don't want anyone to die because I ran again. Very well. We'll fight together. I gathered a ragtag bunch. I trust you to lead them well, and of course my lance is yours. Thank you, Your Highness. You, your father, all of us, will make it out of this alive. Alright, and that cutscene set us up nicely for a defend map, but of course... a defend map is no good way to show off an LTC, so this map can be cut short if you kill the boss. Taking a look at the boss of this map, they're way more overstated than just about any party member you would have at this point. TMGC does this a lot, where they just have this big behemoth of a boss in the map, and they ask you to figure out a way to deal with them. Crazy 69 attack means that almost no one in my party can survive a counterattack, and the 31 defense, 33 res, and 89 HP make makes them very difficult to punch through. We're not going to be one-rounding this boss. They do have a couple weaknesses in that their weapon weighs them down by a little bit, so they only have 18 attack speed. I can get a couple units that can double the boss, and their weapon is also an animatome, which means we have a couple weapons that deal effective damage against anima mages. But those weapons, they're not located on my boss killers right now. They're actually located in this armory. They are the Dowsing Lance and the Ward Bow. We're going to need to buy both of these and then find a way to transport them over to our boss killers before they make their lethal push. Also, there's this big gate in our way. The gate does not raise until the start of turn 3, which means that is the turn floor for this map, I'm pretty sure. But, you know, I think we can show this boss that this gate isn't protecting us from them, it's protecting them from us. One last side objective that we really want to get is we want to recruit the unit that's in this village here. There are a couple chests in this map that would be nice to get, but the unit's what we really care about. I really want to show that one off. So, yeah, these are our two side objectives, meaning that not only do we need to go deep on the left side here, we need to go very deep on the right side. And let's go ahead and show off the party we're going to be doing that with. First off, our lords, Blair and Zeke. Blair is, at this point, by far the better of the two. She just promoted to High Lord here, so instead of just Anima, she has access to every magic type and staves, including probably the most iconic staff of TMGC, the Yoink staff, D-rank, short-range rescue staff. It's buyable in a lot of shops, so it's highly available. And you're going to see a lot of my staffers using this staff to boost my movement, and Blair is one of them. Also, both lords have access to the convoy, so if we want to use the convoy to move the good weapons to our boss killers, that's how we're going to do it. Zeke, he doesn't have staves or anything. He's just like a combat dude that can like shove, so that's what he's going to be doing. But taking a look at our actual boss killers, we have Rachel and Sam is the duo I'm going with. Rachel, she's one of my favorite units in the hack. I've given her a lot of stat boosters, and she's given me a lot of good levels. So her super high HP combined with decent resistance and a skill that gives her more attack and defense when fighting a boss at full HP means that she's kind of ideal for chipping down the boss. She's fast enough to double them, and she's got the axe handle as well to beef up her strength stat a little bit. Sam is going to be finishing off the boss thanks to the boss's, 69 attack. Her resistance, it's not going to save her from being one-shot, but, if we can get the warding bow in her hands, she can finish off after Rachel, started chipping down the boss. You have 3 snipers up until this point, and I think any of the 3 would be good enough to do what Sam does here, but Sam's high resistance makes it easy for me to manipulate the enemies in this map, so I went with her. She has the leg ring to boost her movement by a bit to get her to the boss easier, and I can also see a variation of this map that uses Kenneth as a boss killer. He doesn't need to rely on the ward bow because he has the Luna combat art that completely ignores the defenses of the boss, so he's not lacking in firepower, and He's also like a lot easier to keep alive than a frail sniper. He's this bulky druid, not afraid of the front lines, using magic, using staves. I like Sam better, so she's going to be the boss killer, but Kenneth still has a very important role in this map, and so does our dancer Todsworth. But they're very distinctly support roles, which brings us into our staffers, including another personal favorite of mine, Peggy. She's very notable for her skill combination of Provoke and Swarp. Swarp is a ranged swap that it's basically a free rescue, because how far you can swap depends on your magic stat, and Peggy has an insanely high magic stat, giving her a 12 range swap. But that comes with the drawback of needing to get her really far forward for her Swarp to be good. And not only is she incredibly frail, as you can see, but her Provoke skill means that enemies are also guaranteed to target her, even if they weren't going to do that already. But we are actually going to use the Provoke skill once in this clear, so look forward to that. Another staffer we have is Emil. He's most notable for his Staff Savant skill, which increases the Yoink staff from a 4 range rescue to a 5 range rescue when he's using it. He's also got an Animatome that does not counter at 1 range, which will be nice for AI manipulation. Erin is another staffer we have. She's not going to be using Yoink, but she has a couple utility staves, and she can also reposition, which is nice. We have this thing. Addington. It's like a barrel on wheels. It can use every movement skill in the game, so that includes Swarp from Peggy. This thing, it doesn't have Peggy's magic stat, so even though it can wheel around, it's stuck to the minimum 5 Swarp range. That said, it's got 10 movement and Canto, so you're going to see it just zipping all over the place. Yeah, that... I don't know what this thing is. Moving on to our non-Rachel flyers. We're bringing these two along to get the side objectives on the right side. They're not quite as good at combat, but they're more than good enough to get the job done. That brings us on to our foot squad, which is Natasha, Butch, and Alexis. Natasha, mostly here because she has Smite. Butch is actually going to be doing a lot of frontlining. You're going to be seeing a lot of him this clear. And Alexis, she looks weird because she's a general with 5 movement in an LTC, but her personal skill here, Press Turn, means that she gets Gale Force when she has Weapon Triangle advantage and attacks. So she has basically 10 movement with only a little bit of setup. She'll be a nice frontliner. Finally, we have our only paladin in this clear, Desmond. He's a really nice support unit. He's got this banner lance that boosts the attack and hit of nearby allies, and reposition as well. So, very good unit. And finally, we have Carbon. He's going to kill like one thing. That's kind of our squad. So, with that said, now that you have a general idea of our game plan, let's get right into the clear. Alright, as we get into the clear here, I lose my ability to voice act the cutscenes. That one was just explaining that Zeke got the access to the convoy, but as we kick things off in turn 1 here, I want you to pay special attention to Alexis, who had a Gale Force opportunity set up for her by killing that fighter. And after Pure Water, she's going to settle right into that nook there, which what's important about Alexis in particular being there is that her low speed and low resistance, even after a Pure Water, synergizes with Sam's high resistance really well. So the magical enemies near the start here, like the Mage and the Light Brand Mercenary, they're going to prefer to go for Alexis, and they're going to stay out of Sam's way. The rest of my team on the left side here is just trying to fix up the units that start further back than I would like them to. We're going to end off the turn one of the left side by getting a couple yoinks in on both Rachel and Emil. And moving on to the right, right away we're going to see Butch just behaving like an absolute monster, one-shotting a Myrmidon. Athena also one-shots a Mage, and Butch, like Alexis, is going to be a foot unit that is incredibly important to our frontlining early on. Desmond, he's going to equip Butch with the Rune Sword, which, like the vanilla games, is a magic sword that has the Nosferatu effect. And while normally that sword is very weak on Butch because of his low magic, Desmond has the Banner Lance equipped, which, as I explained earlier, is going to be boosting his power by a little bit and his hit by a little bit. So Butch is gearing up for an incredibly consistent enemy phase. And now we barriered up Layla and shoved her a few times just so she could get rid of that Nosferatu Shaman as we gear up for enemy phase 1. You can see while Alexis needs to be in the front lines to keep enemies' attention away from Sam, Butch needs to be in the front lines here just because the right side has so many more enemies than the left, at least at the start. And you really want a very sturdy unit to be able to take on like 3 or 4 enemies at a time. And with the Rune Sword, of course, he's more than up to the task. This map also has a couple green units. They're not that useful. They're just gonna kind of waste time and get in the way. But here you can see the Lightbrand Mercenary and the Mage are all gonna stay out of Sam's way. And thankfully, the one physical enemy, the Archer, also chose to get out of my way, which is really nice. Moving on into turn 2. Thankfully, the green sages actually heal me up real quick, but now we want to set the staging ground for both visiting the armory and the village of the recruitable unit, and we can clear up the enemies that Butch weakened. And you'll notice I actually have the Dancer on the right side, meaning Todsworth is helping out with the side objectives instead of the main objective. And you can see that's because we just need so many more units to go deep, rather than only like 2 on the left. We need a good 4. Desmond is going to re-equip Butch's Rune Sword for enemy phase 2, heal up himself so that he can take on 1 more enemy. And now, one last thing before we pivot to the left side is we want to move Natasha a bit further forward. She'll have an important role on turn 3, but now we have our Yoink Sages once again in position to boost Rachel forward as we move into this very open battleground in kind of the center left. There's a lot of physical units that can attack us at 1 range. Really bad for Sam. Also probably not great for Rachel. We're going to clear up 2 of them right now. And setting up those 2 in a pretty nice little formation there. But beyond that, we really don't have the firepower to clear the path a whole lot more. There's no easy enemies that Alexis can get her weapon triangle ability off of, so she's just gonna, I believe, finish off the mage there. And we're gonna rely on sneakier means of manipulating the AI. As I mentioned earlier, Emile cannot counter at one range, so anyone who could target Sam could also target Emile for no counterattack. And here we're going to move Peggy forward and drop a fortify just to minimize our chance of death and get her in range to take advantage of her provoke skill. But on the right side, once again, Butch is just running a one-man show in terms of dealing with like 3 enemies at once. He's not that bulky, but man, I love this guy. I didn't use him my first run, but he's awesome. But there, the Cavalier attacked Emile instead of Sam because neither of them could counter. Rachel eats a Siege Tome. She needs to be at full health to live a counter from the boss, so we will need to heal her up on turn 3. But there, Sam has dropped down to 12 health, but because of Peggy's provoke, the Lightbrand mercenary does not move up to attack her, and instead suicides on Peggy. As we move into turn 3, we still don't even have our boss killing weapons. We really got to get our show on the road. So once again, we're going to start off on the right side after this brief cutscene showing that, in fact, the gate is open, and we can just, beat the boss's skull in or whatever it is we do. We're going to open up our path to the armory by killing that soldier, and Butch, the MVP that he is just going to drop the dowsing lance and the ward bow right in the convoy for us to pick up later. Almost had a pretty bad misclick there, but we also need to recruit the unit in the bottom right village, and Todsworth needs to be boosted a little bit more to dance for Layla. So we're going to hit him with a smite and then a reposition from Desmond so that we can recruit Yu. Yu, unfortunately, I'm not going to get to use her in this clear, but she's a very interesting unit based off of Zane from the Arcanea games. And as we get into the left side of the clear, we're going to heal up our 2 boss killers. Technically, we don't need to heal up Sam because she's just delivering the finishing blow, but I wanted to. But here, we do need to both get Sam within range to hit the boss. She's a little bit short right now, and get both of these ladies their mage-killing weapons. We got the dowsing lance and the ward bow, and since they're one tile apart from each other, Blair can just slot right into the middle there and give Rachel a hearty shove as she prepares to start chipping down the boss. We turn on the animations because the animation is quite nice, and although my voice is going to be drowning it out, the music is also very nice too during this boss fight. The dowsing lance, thanks to its mage-killing properties, Rachel's high stats, and her chivalry ability, she's going to be able to just barely live this counterattack and chip the boss down to 33 HP. Sam, actually, mine got a little unlucky in her strength, so she can only deal 30 HP to the boss, but we'll just trade the axe handle right back over and finish off the boss to complete Chapter 15 in 3 turns. Sam answers my prayers by getting a strength level up here, and we get a pair of boots for our trouble. This was an incredibly fun clear to plan out. Elcorian and his buddy are here to get those two ladies out of that jam, and I thank you for watching.